What happens when the foundation of a polygamous family starts to crumble?
And when one wife after another finds the strength to leave, can Cody hold it all together? Or is this the end of the Brown family as we know it?
I know firsthand how hard it is to walk away from that life.
And I know the courage it takes to reclaim your identity after years of religious control.
Stick around because we're breaking down the drama from season 19, episode 1 of Sister Wives
right now.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
I was raised in a family with 4 moms and 25 kids. We were members of the FLDS community, which is a polygamous group run by Warren Jeffs, who is now serving a life sentence in prison.
I was raised mainstream LDS in Utah. Sam and I have been married for 10 years and have 2 awesome kiddos.
Yes, we do. We want to quickly thank our donors, YouTube members, and our patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much for your support. We also have an amazing goal of reaching 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Today, I'm super excited for this because we're diving into season 19, episode 1 of Sister Wives. We bring unique perspectives with Sam and polygamy and us overall in Mormonism. And honestly, we've done Fresh Eyes on Sister Wives as we have reacted over pretty much the last year almost to all of the different seasons of Sister Wives. I will leave the link above for that playlist if you want to go see all of our previous reactions. But this is the first season where I feel like we're with you guys in it. Like we are here from the get-go. We know the history. We know all the backstory.
Yeah.
And we're kind of excited now.
So we're chewing on our fingernails, wondering what kind of craziness is going to happen next. I have to be honest though, I don't know if I even dare admit this, but when we heard that the season 19 was coming out, I was slightly excited. At first, I didn't really enjoy watching Sister Wives. I felt like it was a chore, but something that we needed to react to. But man, after seeing every single episode of every single season, I feel that I am, in a way, have become like connected to this family in some way or another, even though I haven't actually.
Yeah, on Friday, I think it was, Sam was like, it comes out this weekend, right? I'm actually really excited for this. Like, yeah, I know, right?
Don't tell them.
Yeah, and this season's a little bit different too because it's starting clear back in the very first thing it says is that the filming started in the fall of 2022, right? We're in the fall now of 2024, or almost fall in Las Vegas. It doesn't feel like fall yet, but I know it's getting close. So it's taken like a full 2 years for this season to happen, obviously with great tragedy for the Brown family, which it mentioned as well of what had happened with Garrison in the very first scene.
Right.
So there's definitely going to be a lot. And we definitely know a lot of things that are to come. Like we've already seen Christine's wedding. Yeah. We know some of the relationships that are going to pan out, things that aren't going to pan out. But we're going to try to stay as true to each episode as we possibly can and pretend like we have those fresh eyes and we don't see any of the drama that's unfolding all over social media in the meantime.
Exactly. I will say, though, that we're hoping, and we've already started to see that a lot of the blanks are being filled in with what was, some more details on what was going on during the time that Christine met David and all of that stuff. So at least we're going to get a lot of this information that we were hoping and waiting on.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate following now. Instead of like following one family, they're basically following like a whole bunch of individuals, and Cody's kind of just the eye of the storm. Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it.
Speaking of Cody, let's kick things off with him. It's crazy. Cody, it seems he likes to control everything. Mm-hmm. And he likes to make everything about him, even when in a lot of cases it's not. It's just about the family trying to get together and do things for each other in some way or another. And Cody comes in and says, oh, you know what? It's FOMO. They're trying to use this FOMO that I have, of fear of missing out on anything within the family. They're trying to use it against me, and so they're purposely going and doing things together so that I will feel like I am being attacked.
Yeah, well, and it's so it has nothing to do with him, right?
Right.
These women have already been like pushed aside by him for so long, and then now they're finally like taking their power back, and they are saying, I'm going to continue to do what's best for me, for my family, for my kids. And they're just trying to live their lives. And Cody's not used to not having control over it, because whether you want to call it a democracy or not, I know he'd always try to include the wives in decisions, but at the end of the day, there still had to be a certain power dynamic within honestly, even within most polygamous families, there has to be that dynamic of the husband being in charge. And so Cody losing that power dynamic, I think, is like really hard for him. And you can see that unraveling as people are becoming even more independent than they already were.
Right. Here's the thing, too, is coming from their religious background, the AUB, there is very much so a patriarch in each family dynamic within the church. And so, yes, the show did show them trying to come together and make these decisions. But because every time Cody wanted something, it seemed like that's what happened. Like moving to Flagstaff, for an example, very obvious example, he got his way. And so then that's what happened. And it just kind of shows that he got his way a lot. Whether he was using the religion, the patriarch, or what, I don't know, but that's what it seems like.
One thing to remember is the polygamy and fundamentalist communities, like the Apostolic United Brethren, or AUB, where the Browns are from, is viewed as a divine calling. So when Christine left, it wasn't just about her breaking up a family. It was about rejecting their belief and rejecting that path to salvation that they believed in. And all this started with their family having that similar belief. Like they all entered polygamy with this belief in eternal marriages and plural marriage and its divine nature. And so now to watch that piece of it fall apart, really, I mean, you see the different wives are all handling it separately. So you see Mary talks about at one point that she's going to actually go and try to get the marriage resolved with the church, which was interesting, right?
Yeah, that was super interesting, because if you don't believe in it, why would you be concerned about whether or not the church says, okay, you don't have to be with him anymore? She mentioned something about it. She didn't want to be sealed to him for all eternity, so she needed to get this done, meaning that she feels that if she doesn't get this terminated through the church, which, does she believe in the AUB anymore?
I don't know.
I didn't think so, but I guess I don't know for sure. But she feels that if she doesn't get this marriage terminated by the church, that in the next life, she's going to have this
she might be stuck with Cody
and be stuck with him whether she wants it or not, which is crazy.
Yeah, and then Christine is on the complete opposite end, right? Christine's saying, I don't believe in this religion at all anymore.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter that I get it annulled through the church or not, because if I don't believe it, then it's not true on the other side for me either.
Yeah.
And she can just walk away, and she has left the faith completely and is kind of forging her own path. So you really see the different wives taking it differently, and I'm intrigued to see what happens with Janelle.
Yeah. Can we talk about Christine for a second?
Yes.
I'm loving her energy. Leaving polygamy is not easy, especially after being in one for so many years. That long, it takes guts.
Yeah, it's so cool to watch her come into her own. I think it's hilarious when she's like, oh, I'm a big fan of divorce, and if you're thinking about it, do it. And, talking about dating, and I can't even imagine the nerve she had in dating and starting to date again in her 50s, where she's been married with so many kids for so long, right? And the thing about leaving any tightly knit religious community, whether it's polygamy or it's mainstream Mormonism, is it isn't just about stepping away from doctrine. It's really about like reclaiming your identity and figuring out who you are and making choices for yourself. And Christine is such a good example of that. She's figuring out who she is. She's figuring out that outside of the role she was expected to play. And so she's really just coming to her own and enjoying that part of her life. And it's so fun to see that fresh start for her.
I agree.
I'm also really curious to see if like each of these wives, as we're going to watch throughout this season, is going to kind of pick their own path of how they are like post Cody. Right? Christine seems like she's thriving and doing amazing with that. But I'm really curious to see like how Janelle handles it, how Mary handles it. We will see whether or not Robin ever handles it. And Mary, right? So it's like seeing all these different storylines of how they're going to handle it. But Janelle right now, finding the tension between her and Cody. Oh my gosh. Like they keep showing the same clip over and over, right? They showed it so many times in the last season. They're showing it again right now of Janelle and Cody fighting in her living room.
It's hard to watch. It really is.
It's hard to watch. And at this point, I think we've watched it like 10 or 15 times between the coming ups, right?
Too many.
Too many times. But she's really at a crossroads where she says she doesn't miss him. She says that she doesn't care that she's not with him. She only ever even thinks about him if she's thinking about the property, which is like big red flag. If you're not thinking about your husband, like literally ever, proves that it was a long time coming as well for them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it seems like what they had before, at least for a long time now, has not been anything worth having, based on her lack of missing him and just really caring about him that much.
But she hasn't cut it off completely yet
That's
either.
true.
She's like, yeah, Christine thinks I'm holding on because I haven't had like one big talk, but we've had lots of little talks. But I'm like, you can't really like ghost a husband of 25 years or however many years
Well,
it's been, right?
They have a lot of kids together too. So that's something else to consider, is all of these children are very much involved. And Cody even at one point said that he wouldn't even talk about Madison.
Yeah, which was crazy, right?
What does that say, right?
And it seems like Janelle mentioned the fact that like she's at a crossroads herself, but a lot of it came down to Cody and the relationship that he has with their children. And so I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see. Does she go more Christine's route, or does she kind of go Mary's route and kind of go off and do her own thing? And what's that going to look like?
Janelle is clearly weighing her options, and Cody seems completely unaware of how much he's alienated his wives.
Oh my gosh. Watching Cody is so frustrating sometimes because on the one hand, he's acting like it's this huge depression that he's in and he's so upset and he just can't get over the fact that Christine's left and how horrible that is. And he can barely even have a successful relationship with Robin because of all of the hurt and the pain and all these things that the divorces are causing. At the same time, Janelle's not completely gone yet. When Robin mentions that, Cody acts like, yeah, right, we're pretty much over anyway. Robin's been begging him to give Mary attention for years. He's not willing to fix that one. So it's like, you're going to complain about all the heartache, but at the same time, you're not like fixing the ones that could be fixed. And I don't know. It's just a really interesting between him playing the victim and also being the perpetrator at the same time.
Yeah, and not seeming willing to mend and fix the relationships between his wives and also many of his kids.
Yeah,
It's
it feels like
heartbreaking.
he's clinging to this idea that he can control the family dynamic, but you can sense that the wives are finding their voices. And that's so important for anyone that's leaving that kind of environment, especially something like polygamy or where they feel like it was highly controlled.
Yep.
They're learning to stand on their own. But then Cody, every time they stand on their own, gets upset about the fact that he's not controlling it.
Exactly.
I think at one point he even mentioned that like, oh, they know that I have FOMO and I have fear of missing out if my kids or my family is doing something without me, right? And he acts like they're doing that on purpose to stab at him, right? Oh, we're going to do these other things. But really at this point, all of them have felt abandoned by him in some way. And they're trying to move on, stand up for themselves, do what needs to be done, take care of them and their kids. And by doing that, he feels left out, rightfully so, because they are leaving him out because he didn't really want to be a part of it. So which came first, Cody's neglect or Cody being like, I don't know, the chicken or the egg? How's that go?
Yeah, my response to his FOMO thing is, hey, everything isn't always about you, sir. Sometimes
true.
people are just doing things with family because they love them, they want to help them, whatever the case may be. It doesn't mean that they're trying to do it to get after you somehow. So that's just my response to that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where when he's expecting his kids, and I think there's way more cases of this just in general. Like you hear that all the time where parents will feel like the kids need to reach out, kids feel like parents need to reach out, and then relationships as adults end up in standstills because it's a big blame game of who's in charge. I don't know, maybe leave in the comments. Do you think it's the kids' job to reach out to their parents to have a relationship, or do you think it's the parents' job to reach out to their kids to have a relationship? Because
I think that's a big debate.
it's a huge thing.
I think that's been a debate for a very long time, and I would share my opinion, but I'm very curious what your opinions are on this before I even say anything. So please comment below and let us know what you think about that. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Now, we have to talk about the huge moment in this episode. Mary finally leaving Cody.
Woo woo!
After all these years of being in this complicated, strained marriage, she's finally stepping away. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people saw this coming, obviously, but to actually see her make the decision is a huge deal, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And you could tell by her friends, right? Like her friends were like, it's about time. She's been through so much. And for years, it seemed like she was holding onto a thread of hope. Things are going to change. Cody says we might work on it. It's all going to be better. But after watching the emotional distance between them grow, it's such a relief to see her just choose herself. Like I said, you can tell by the way she has those conversations with the people closest to her and her closest friends. And they're like, thank goodness this finally happened. Like,
exactly.
It's not just us on the outside being like, what is going on? But yeah, I don't know. And I'm curious, like being in it, she obviously felt hope. We've been feeling like she's been holding on for way too long. We've also found out in previous seasons that there were things that she didn't see or that Cody wasn't saying to her that he was saying to the rest of the world. So we knew how Cody really felt this whole time. And she's hearing about it in these like one-on-one interviews after shows are being released, which is so rude.
Yeah.
So rude.
Yeah, it makes me wonder because, of course, once again, this is a TV show, so perspectives can be swayed a little bit depending on how they want it to go. But like you said, having her friends say and validate what our feelings have been, finally, Mary, finally, just goes to show that, yes, there has been a lot of years of just red flags. And because she still feels the need, Mary feels the need to terminate this contract or this sealing covenant with the church that they came from, gives some perspective in my mind on why maybe she hasn't just walked away for so many years.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that would really make sense. And in polygamy, especially in long-term marriages like Cody and Mary's, the idea of enduring is so deeply ingrained. You feel like you have to stay no matter what.
Yeah, because like we mentioned earlier with Christine, it's breaking this spiritual contract. It's breaking that covenant that they believe they made between like God and your spouse and you. You know, that's how it's explained when you make that eternal covenant. And so it isn't just a divorce in their mind. It's like breaking this huge bond that means so much to them in their religious beliefs as well. And that also mirrors a lot of the struggles that people in the LDS church or any high control environment face when they leave. There's so much guilt tied to the decision of leaving or divorce. But once they do it, then they realize, oh, okay, now I have this opportunity to like find who I am or be able to not be held back by those certain beliefs by thinking that my life is all about enduring.
Right.
Because you see that a lot where it's like, oh, I have to make this work because it's eternal. I have to endure. I have to endure. I have to endure. So watching Mary like finally take that step gives me hope she'll find like healing and happiness. And I mean, I know we're not supposed to talk about the future yet, but we know that Christine ends up getting married. And I really hope that for Mary, like I want her to be able to finally have like a true companion because she hasn't had a companion in so long.
And we've heard rumors about where Mary ends up, and it's a quick Google search to find out things here and there. But we're going to
see how the show portrays it.
We'll see how they portray it because it's interesting what you can find online versus what the show is saying, probably versus something differently. If we could speak with Mary personally, I'm sure there's a whole other side of the story there.
Yeah, Mary, if you're out there, we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, maybe we need to go track her down. I'm just kidding. That sounds creepy. But I hope this marks the beginning of a new chapter for Mary. She deserves a chance to redefine her life after so many years of being in the background. It's a powerful message for anyone, really. Feeling stuck, you can always change your story.
And that's kind of been the story of so many people. And that's definitely something we talk about on this channel a lot too. There's always the opportunity to change your story, right? And it's one of those opportunities that whether it's in a marriage, whether it's leaving a religion, we've had interviews with people who have done both, you know, and ex-wives of Warren Jeffs as a leader and those type of stories as well, where they were leaving both of those ties at the same time and watching people be able to overcome that and be empowered to do what's best for them and to not feel the guilt and shame is just super cool. So if you want to see more of those stories, please like and subscribe and keep an eye out for those interviews because they can be pretty powerful.
And I have to ask, what are your overall thoughts on episode 1? Feel free to comment below. For me, it's clear that this season is going to be all about the unraveling of the old power structure. Christine and now Mary leaving. It feels like the wives are finally realizing their own worth, and Cody is struggling to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode, really sets a stage, right?
Yeah.
It gives us this stage for some big change that's going to be coming up. It's really a reflection of how people can outgrow oppressive situations and find true freedom. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to be able to resonate with all of their journeys, whether they are in a polygamous relationship or not, because all of us have more similarities than differences in a lot of different
we
ways.
See that so much, yes.
Yeah.
So many people reaching out and have very, very similar experiences to another person in a group that we cover or something like that. So that's all for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in to our review of Sister Wives Season 19, Episode 1. If you like this breakdown and would like more unique perspective on this season, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so thank you all so much.
And don't forget to comment below. We want to know what you guys think of Mary's decision. Was it super clear? Do you think she was just holding on, grasping at straws? Cody's reaction to all this and his being the eye of the storm. We'll be reading through and replying to as many comments as we can. So we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Thank you all.